John Amos.
Lou now.
Hi, John.
How you doing, baby?
I'm great. I'm really honored to be doing this interview today.
Well, thank you. I'm honored to be in your company.
I know this is a personal favor. It's early in the morning. We're here in New York City. You got all dressed up for me. I appreciate that, baby.
For you,
Or that's your
anything.
regular swag. You just swaggy.
No, this was for you.
Oh, my goodness. Making me blush. Can you tell? All right. Well, listen. So we're going to talk about some things here because I feel like as much as you've been in front of the camera all these years, I feel like people don't really know you. They know your characters, but they don't know you. So this is an attempt to get the public to know you.
Okay.
Right?
Got you.
So you're a Jersey guy.
Born and raised.
Lord have mercy. You love being from Jersey?
Well, it gives you a good basis for life. You got a PhD in reality if you come out of Jersey.
Mm-hmm. How does Jersey differ from New York, the city?
Well, I like the fact that there's not quite as much traffic.
Yeah.
And people are friendly.
You've never been like a real L.A. guy, huh?
No, I haven't. I never did care for L.A. too much.
Yeah.
It's too superficial for me.
And so, just like a lot of black families in the era when you grew up, times are kind of hard, right? How many of you're here with your sister today?
Right.
How many siblings in your family?
Still alive, one or two.
Which is,
Two.
is what? Okay. So is that you two?
Yeah, that's including me.
How many? How many did you start with?
3.
Mm-hmm. So one has passed away.
Yes.
Okay. I'm the 8th of 8.
Wow.
Yeah, I got 7 brothers and sisters. One has passed away.
Well, Daddy was busy.
Busy in June because the 5 of us was born in March. I said, man, you like to do it in June, didn't you? Okay. So you didn't really meet Daddy until you were 19. Is that true?
Well, meet him to really get to know him.
He was in and out?
Yeah. He was in the service, and I happened to meet him on one of his leaves.
Which is probably how you got conceived anyway.
Possibly.
Them boys, they go AWOL for that thing sometime. Okay, and what was the relationship with you and your dad throughout your years, what you say?
Once I got to know him, I fell in love with the man because I could see myself in him, and I saw so many of the qualities that I'd like to think that I had in him that I had nothing but love for him. At first, there was a lot of animosity because I felt like he'd bailed, But he had obligations. He had a path he had to choose, and I forgave him for that, and we became easily the very, very best of friends.
You feel like forgiveness is a cleansing?
Oh, yeah, no doubt. That was probably the best thing that ever happened, was me getting to know him, and as man-to-man adult. And it got rid of a whole lot of tension, a lot of animosity. Blew it away.
And you say you saw yourself in him. In what ways do you think you were similar with your father?
Well, I tell you, when I went out to L.A. to start my education, it was at a junior college in Long Beach City College. And I had this old raggedy car, cost me about $50 and needed a lot of work on it. And Pop was a master mechanic. So one day I was working on my car, and he came out and gave me a couple of tools, and he walked back to the garage. But as he walked back, I was laying underneath the car working on the brakes, and I looked at him walking, and I could feel his body motion, and I could see myself walking the same way, and I could feel all of his physicality and everything. And we looked more like brothers than father and son. So I truly, truly fell in love with the man and grew so much to respect him and to love him that to this day I still miss him.
And he's passed on then?
Yes, he has.
So you were talking about school. Now, what kind of student were you? Were you a good kid? Were you a bad kid? Did you make good grades? Or
In the subjects that I liked, I did well. The ones that I didn't care for, The sciences and that, I was not very good.
What subjects did you like the best?
I liked reading, and I liked the English classes that let me read and write and create. Any classes that allowed me to become a creative person, I fell in love with those classes. I couldn't
Isn't that ironic?
Yeah,
That the classes that you were fond of were the classes that you could be creative at. And then you
exactly.
chose that path. Okay, so this is like civil rights movement time, right? Did you experience racism? Was it in Jersey? Was it in
Absolutely.
LA? Was it everywhere?
Absolutely. It was in Jersey. In fact, I integrated two schools in New Jersey, two grade schools. Stockton Junior High was a grade school, and then I went to Columbian Junior High. Well, actually, Stockton was a grade school, and then I went to Columbian Junior High, and integrated both of those schools. Myself and two other black students integrated those schools. So yeah, we were subjected to what was the norm at that time.
They ever call you the N word?
Once.
And you reacted how?
I corrected their behavior.
Amen.
Suffice it to
Well,
say.
amen. Okay. And
I think the statute of limitations has run out on it, so I can admit to correcting.
Yeah. It's all good. Don't worry. It's a no-fly zone. You're safe with me, baby.
Okay.
Safe with me. So then you played football, didn't you?
Yeah, I tried to. Well, I was a pretty good high school athlete, and I got a scholarship to Colorado State University.
With football?
Yeah. After I'd done a year at Long Beach City College in California, I got an offer to go to Colorado State University, which is where I went.
And then that's where you got a degree in sociology?
Sociology, right.
And what'd you do with that?
Well, I did put it to use, rather. I went to work here in the city, working at the for the Vera Institute of Justice in, what's it on, the criminal courts building in Manhattan. And my job consisted of interviewing indigent defendants, juveniles, and adults. And when I did the adults, I had to work out of the Brooklyn House of Detention, and it was some pretty bad boys with bad lifestyles, and I tried to help as many of them as I could.
Yeah, did you develop empathy sometime for some of these guys that had bad upbringings and just chose the wrong path? Or?
Couldn't help but feel some empathy for them, because I saw that were it not for having a very strong mom, which I had. I mean, I had an incredible mother. I would have ended up the same way permanently. As it was, I had a few brushes with the law coming up, just the juvenile things you do when you're trying to find your way as a young adult.
Mm-hmm.
And I got my behavior corrected.
So you did that, and you pursued some more football. It looks like here that you went to Colorado Rams football team. What is that?
Well, Colorado State University, their mascot is the Rams.
Oh, okay.
But I tried out for innumerable pro football teams with no success.
Yeah, you kept getting hurt, didn't you?
Yeah, getting hurt, getting cut, but not cut physically.
Yeah, cut from
the team.
Mm-hmm.
2 tryouts with the Chiefs, who are playing in the Super Bowl this weekend.
Was that your dream, though? Like, I'm going to be a football player?
That was my dream. I saw no other way out of my economic strata. I said, it's got to be football. I didn't know what else I could do.
It's a lot of young African American minority guys who feel like athletics is their ticket out still.
It's their ticket out, exactly. And for some it works, but they must get an education.
Absolutely.
I stress that. I mean, they can't get too much education.
Yeah, because nobody wants a dumb jock.
That's it.
What about boxing? Didn't you box for a while, too?
Very briefly, in the Golden Gloves, I ran into a young man, I'll never forget his name, Johnny Bullocks. He was a Mormon from Utah, and we fought in the Golden Gloves in Denver, and that changed my mind about Mormons and boxing. I said, they aren't all pacifists, and I need to find something else to do.
To do. Were you a good boxer or?
Well, I thought I was until I ran into Johnny
Had
Bullets.
he whipped that ass? Okay. Okay, so in '64 you signed a free agent contract with the Broncos.
That lasted 24 hours.
24 hours.
Yeah, I got cut the next day. See, what had happened was
You know, this was a pattern for your life to come, I see.
Exactly. God kept trying to tell me, John, I don't want you playing football. Not really. I want you can pretend to be a football player. And that paid off. Years later, when I was trying to break into the business, I did a commercial, and the commercial called for me to portray a football player, and that came natural to me. So that worked out all right.
Kansas City Chiefs. Tell me about that.
Oh, that was probably one of the best experiences I've ever had because I was playing or attempting to play for who I regard as one of the finest coaches ever to coach the game.
Is that
The
Hank
late
Stram?
Hank Stram. Yeah, he was legendary in every sense of the word.
Yeah, but Hank told you. What did Hank tell you?
Well, Hank told me, he said, John, I don't know what it is you're going to do with your life, but I don't think pro football is going to be in the picture. So before I left camp the second time, because I had signed as a free agent with them twice, the second time I got released from the team, I asked Hank, I said, Coach, I know I'm being cut. Is there any chance at all that you can get me on with another club? And we went to his office, and he made one or two phone calls. There were no takers. So I said, well, there's one thing I'd like to do before I leave the camp. I made a lot of friends here, and I'd like to leave the guys with something, which was a poem that I'd written called The Turk, which is a euphemism for that guy that comes and asks for your playbook and cuts you. Once the Turk comes and knocks on your door, that's the ball game. So I read the poem, and the reaction, what the poem was a recitation of what had happened to me as an aspiring football player. And it didn't, obviously, that part didn't work out. But the team's reaction to the poem was such that they started cheering and they started chanting, got to keep him, coach. You got to keep him, coach. And Coach Stram made it clear. He said, no, we aren't keeping any poets.
Right.
You know, I'm not looking for writers. This is not much.
Football.
I'm looking for football players. So I got released, but that gave me such confidence that my writing could inspire that type of a reaction from the players. Guys, these were hard-nosed football players, all pros in some cases, legendary athletes. And they were cheering for this poem, cheering because they could relate to this poem. And that gave me the confidence that I could be a writer, a television writer, or whatever opportunities presented themselves. So I pursued that, and in time, after working a myriad of jobs, you name it, and I did it. Anything to survive and to feed my family. I got serious about the entertainment industry and became a television writer.
There's a show on television now called Ballers. Are you familiar with it?
Yeah, in fact, I did an episode of that with Dwayne, The Rock, and it was wonderful. I played a broken down old football player.
That's just what I was going to
Typecasting.
ask. Did you ever get a chance to play a football player, play a coach? Okay, I'm gonna have to pull your episode up. I'm lacking because I love that show.
Yeah, it was a good show,
It's a
and he's
good
wonderful to work with.
Yeah, he's a great guy. I hope that he grows up and be as great a guy as you are, John.
Well, thank you so much.
Okay, so moving on. You got cut from 13 teams. I'm just gonna throw that in there in case you didn't remember that. It was 13.
It was
Yeah,
13.
you got cut from 13.
If you count the Chiefs twice,
You had other odd jobs too.
you
Worked
name
in
it,
a
I did it.
Burger joint. Did
Yeah,
you work at McDonald's?
when they opened the first McDonald's in Canada, I had just gotten released from the BC Lions. I'd gone up to Canada to share my talents across the border, and of course I got cut because they only keep American imports. The rule was you had to keep an American import at least 4 days to give them a chance, and I got cut in 2 days. So that was kind of like the death blow for me. I said, I think I'm through with football after that. But what had happened was I was out of work, no job, and they opened up the first McDonald's in all of Canada. right there in Vancouver where I was living. And I went and applied and got on as a trainee, and I started cutting French fries, cutting potatoes for the French fries, and washing the windows and that. And while I was in the training process, I think the creative thing came out because I must have had over 35 young men there working, and we only had like 12 working positions, but they were overloading to give everybody a chance to learn the McDonald's procedure. They're very strict about their procedure. And I had the kids sing these lyrics that I'd made up to the McDonald's about the McDonald's products. West Side Story was a very popular film at the time. So I took the music from West Side Story and put the McDonald's products to it. When you're a Mac all the way,
Right.
from your first 10-cent Coke to your last fish fillet. When you're a Mac, you give all that you got, whether you're bagging fries or picking up the lot, and so on and so forth. So I had a lot of fun with that. So this lady, local from Vancouver, she came by and she'd never seen a McDonald's before, and here all these kids are dancing and singing. She said, "What is this place?" I said, "This is McDonald's, ma'am. Can I help you?" She said, "Well, what do you do here?" I said, "We make hamburgers." She said, "But I thought you were laughing and singing. I thought this was a show business enterprise." And I said, "Well, it is sort of, but the bottom line is I had a good time, and that was my basic. That was really the beginning of my relationship with McDonald's." Now, years later, I'm Mr. McDowell and working for the real McDonald's, you know.
Yeah. Oh,
So
yeah.
that showed me God has a sense of humor and He has a plan for all of us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Do you still eat McDonald's? Have you had, when the last time you had McDonald's?
Uh, it's been quite a while. I'm not quite as fond of them as I used to be. I'll put it that way because I
Okay.
might want to keep that relationship, you know.
Yeah, right. You never know. So let's move on to what you are known for the most. Let's talk about Good Times, America's favorite black father. You're the favorite. I don't care what nobody say, and they've had others that I liked very well. But as a watcher, viewer, for a lot of people, the thing that I always enjoyed was, you want a man to be a man. Be a man. And being a man means, to me, you take care of your family, you don't take much stuff, and you really, really love your wife, which you portrayed all of that. Your little dumpy wife, you were crazy about her. She
Yeah.
was crazy about you. Your kids, Michael the Radical, JJ the jokester, and that voluptuous, beautiful Thelma. Lord have mercy. There was Pam Grier, and then there was Thelma. Look,
Amen.
amen. And you had your little house, and you were doing the best. That apartment, was that supposed to be what?
In the projects.
Yeah. Of
Cabrini
Cabrini
Green.
Green. That's what I thought. It looked very similar to Cabrini Green, actually.
Oh, they did an excellent job duplicating the environment.
And they reduplicated it recently with the Good Times.
Yeah.
They really did a good job on that set.
Yes, they did.
At what point did you decide that you were going to pursue acting professionally? You'd been writing these poems. You knew that you had a way with words. You knew that your words could affect people. So how did you decide, I think I'm going to, this is what we want to know. How did you take all that other regular stuff and then move into, I'm going to be an actor? Did you do theater?
Yes, I did.
And so when you did theater, did you get a feeling that I'm in the right place?
Doing theater was a cakewalk for me because I love performing in front of an audience. I guess I was a compulsive performer.
You a good memorizer?
I was at that time. It's somewhat diminished as I've gotten older.
Look, me too.
Yeah.
Cue cards, anybody? I'm with it.
Thank you.
So, so now you auditioned, you did some plays, and how did the job come about? Did you see it in a casting? Did somebody recommend you for it? How did that come
Which
about?
particular
For
job?
Good Times.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, the word got out that they were auditioning actors for it, and I got a call that specifically asked me to come in and read.
So you had an agent,
Yeah,
and you were living in
Los Angeles at that
at
time.
that time. Okay.
And Esther Roll had already been cast. Of course, it was her show, so they were really looking for a husband for her. And
Do you remember who you auditioned against?
I don't know who the competition was, but after I read with Miss Roll, she said turned to Norman Lear, who was in the other room, and said, "That's it. That's my husband." And that was it. I got the job.
Did y'all have a loving relationship in real life? Were you good, or
No,
were you
we
just
were just
acting?
we were just professionals. In real life, we were very fond. I was fond of her. I mean, I had a tremendous amount of respect for her because, well, she had come from very modest means, you know, as she was growing up and as she grew into a woman. And when Norman Lear found her, she had never done television before. She had never done any appreciable amount of stage work. So she was pretty much a novitiate when she got the job on Good Times. And after it was decided by Mr. Lear that we would be husband and wife on her, we'd established a tremendous rapport. But to show you the reality of the times, they would do a pilot, what they called a pilot in those days, where you'd shoot an episode and they would test it before an audience. And it might be a 2 or 3 week wait before you found out what the outcome was, whether or not you were going to be picked up and become a series, or whether or not it was just that's it. So the bottom line was we were both collecting unemployment at that time, myself and Miss Roll, and we, as God would have it, our time for picking up our unemployment check was the exact same time. I think it was every other Thursday at 2:00 or something like that, on McCadden Place in Los Angeles. So there we are, leaning on the fence at the unemployment office, waiting to find out if the thing is going to become a series. And that's when we really bonded, because she said, "What do you think the chances are?" I said, "If I know television at all, and quite frankly, I'd done an appreciable amount of television before Good Times. I'd worked on other shows, the Mary Tyler Moore Show, Tim Conway, etc. And when
on Mary Tyler Moore, were you
I
a
was Gordy the
newscaster?
Weatherman.
The Weatherman.
Yeah,
I remember that.
everybody always thought that I was
Yeah.
No, they thought I was a sportscaster. You know, being a fairly big guy and having played football, they assumed that was a running gag, that Gordy was the sportscaster, and I'd say no, I'm the weatherman, and that kind of set him back a little bit. But it worked out fine. That was one of my favorite jobs, working as Gordy.
You enjoyed working with Mary Tyler Moore?
Absolutely. She was. You could see why she had become an American icon.
Yeah, I loved her. So then they had to cast the children
For Good Times.
And Walona. Yes.
Yeah. And you too, Walona.
Yeah. And were you happy with those choices? Did anybody audition that you know, this is years later now, like you're free. Is there anybody audition that you wish I'd have got it and like?
No, to tell you the truth, the only casting that I was dubious about, or not so much dubious, I didn't know where he was coming from, was Jimmy. No one had ever seen him at that time, and at that time he was emaciated. I mean, he looked like a beanpole.
He did.
And I mean, he was.
That's why when Jay Farrell played him, I'm like, these skinny jokes don't work on Jay Farrell, because Jay Farrell's built like the Hulk. And they were saying how skinny he was, but that was, you know, the dialogue from the previous script. Yeah. JJ was very, very skinny.
Very skinny. But he was funny, and they bought his act, so he was my oldest boy in the show.
Walona was a wonderful character as well.
Yes, she was.
Loved Walona.
I loved working with her. Janae Dubois is an incomparable actress.
She's a good egg. She's a good egg. They covered a lot of topics on Good Times, you know, lots of serious topics.
Very serious topics.
JJ got shot.
Right.
Teenage pregnancy.
Seniors being forced to eat pet food to survive.
Things that baby getting abused with the iron, you know, child abuse.
I think that's when America really began to set up and take notice of the show, because of the subject matter that Norman was conveying to them under the guise of straight humor, and it worked.
And so this was really Norman's vision because it's odd there were no black writers on Good Times. Isn't that correct?
We had a lot of contention about that uh, because I felt like I knew more about what a black family should be and how a black father would act than our writers, none of whom were black, had no, and their perception or their idea of what a black family would be and what a black father would be was totally different from mine, and mine was steeped in reality.
Absolutely.
So after a few, let's say, emotional discussions, we got that straightened out, and they finally accepted the fact that I might know a little bit more about that than they did. And after all these years, I think after a number of years, rather, Norman came around to my way of thinking.
So were some of these worked out actually when you had to do the read-throughs, or and you were like, we would never say nothing like that, or we would never do nothing like that, or that's ridiculous, or when did this come up during rehearsals, or what?
Well, that was the thing about working with Norman Lear. He liked to get the actors' input, but by the same token, he couldn't relinquish control of the show to the actors since he had a staff of fine writers as well. But ultimately, we worked out a system whereby whatever ad libs or whatever changes I wanted to make, or any of the other cast members wanted to make for that matter, they were allowed in. In fact, they were encouraged in until it reached a point where I was not. I'll put it this way: I wasn't very tactful in my complaints about the script or the script points.
Yeah, I think that's legendary. I think we're aware of that.
Like I said, I wasn't the most diplomatic guy, so very often it would end in me saying, "Well, let's go outside then." and the writers, these were Hollywood writers. They weren't used to that. What do you mean we go outside?
The black man
Let's
is
go outside
scaring
and talk
us.
about
It's
this.
a scary black man. That James Evans, he's scary, and John Amos is even scarier. Funny.
Yeah,
Well,
it wasn't
so
funny to them at the time.
I'm sure it
was
was.
serious.
Listen, it's
Serious
still
to the
not
point
funny to
that the
them.
writers they said, we can't deal with this anymore. And Norman called me up one day. We were on hiatus. And he said, his secretary, J.D. Joe, called and said, John, Norman would like to speak to you. I said, sure, I'm here. He got on the phone. He said, Big John, how you doing? I said, I'm doing fine, Norm. What's up? He said, well, I got good news and bad news. He said, we had done the pilot. We had finished, I think, in the top 15 or the top 10 shows. So it was a foregone conclusion that the show was going to be picked up for another full season. And he said, well, the good news is that we've been picked up for another year. I said, well, I pretty much expected that. And he said, but the bad news is you won't be with us. I said, how's that? He said, well, we had to let you go, John. He said, we can't have you threatening the writers' lives, and the writers are getting nervous, and they're going to have to let you go. Wish you the best of luck. I said, okay, Norm, bye. And I hung up the phone. Years later, we were to work together again on 3 different shows, 3 different pilots, because he realized after a fashion that I was right about some things. I wasn't the most diplomatic guy in terms of expressing my grievances, but he allowed that, and he and I established a relationship as proven by the recent reprisal, I guess you'd call it, of Good Times live before an audience. It was wonderful. I mean, I was tearful because
I'm sure.
all the old wounds had been healed, and
I was there,
yeah,
I saw you and Norman.
oh, I know you were
I was
there.
looking right at you guys. I'm like, wow, this is like a
Yeah.
long time coming.
The tears were flowing. I'm not ashamed to say it. I was so glad because, let's face it, the man changed the face of television.
Come on now.
He changed the face of the most important media communication system that's ever been created by human beings. And he changed it. He changed it for the better. We began to do more meaningful programming all across the board. Every network
Didn't he have, 5 shows
He had
on
7
TV?
shows
7 shows at the
in
same
the
time.
top 10 at that time. Nobody had ever done that. And quite frankly,
I'm not sure anybody's done it since.
no one has. No one has. You see a repetition of their first success, like some of the cop shows, they repeat themselves. But Norman broke ground, and he still for my money, the most creative producer that's ever worked in television.
Do you see family programming coming back? After all this reality phase and all this stuff.
No, I don't. I see where you're going with the question. I don't see it. I think one reason is because there's so much stuff being offered on television. You got 500 channels.
Yeah, it's overwhelming.
With nothing on most of them. Repetition of the same old thing, replications of shows that have been successful. That's become the norm. If a show succeeds with one knucklehead, then let's do a show with 5 knuckleheads.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work.
And with the redoing of all this stuff, it seems like it's just like with people using old music and putting new stuff to it. Seems like people's creativity is gone. Like you can't think up some new stuff.
Yeah.
You got to keep rehashing this. Back to Good Times for a minute. Was some of the contention about JJ's behavior and how goofy he was, and like, to use a word, buffoonish? Was that a source of contingency for Esther and yourself? Because Michael wasn't. Michael was a radical. Thelma was a serious student and dancer. Then you got JJ, who was an artist.
Well, we needed the comic relief. I mean, I accepted that as a writer because I'd written for television by then, and I accepted the fact that we needed the comedy relief. But by the same token, we felt it could have been dealt with a little more seriously. So yeah, that was a bone of contention, his behavior and his antics, and people misinterpreted my objection. They thought that I was jealous of him, and quite frankly, I'm not jealous of any successful comedian. And he was the comedy relief we needed, but I felt it was a little bit overboard. Mm-hmm. And I complained about it to Norman a number of times, and he...
But you mean you didn't like that chicken outfit, did he?
Well, I could see the need for it.
Didn't he have a chicken on his head?
Well, he's working...
Yeah, it had a chicken hat.
He's working at a fried chicken place, and so he, as a joke, they made a hat for him that
with
had
a
chicken
on it.
I mean, let's face it, we were doing comedy. It wasn't Shakespeare,
Okay, well, so you've been fired off the show. Collect unemployment after that for Good Times?
No, I took off. I had fallen in love with Africa on one of my many travels, and Liberia in particular. And as soon as he gave me the word that I wouldn't be coming back, I booked a reservation to Liberia, and I went over there just to decompress and get Hollywood out of my system for a while. So I lived in Liberia for a while, made a great many friends there, some business relationships, and I began to frequent Africa on a regular basis.
I'm going.
When are you going?
I'm going to go visit Nzamo in South Africa.
Okay.
I don't know when. We're talking about it, but I'm going to go.
My daughter's been...
I went to the Seychelles, the eastern tip, but now I want to go to South Africa.
My daughter's been a number of times. My daughter, Shannon. In fact, I've got this bracelet. It's got Nelson Mandela's incarceration number. Mm. She went to South Africa, and she brought that for me.
His booking number, you mean? Yeah. I got one. Maybe I should make a bracelet, too. Okay, well... So after, when you, like in your personal life, so how did you come, were you married at that time?
I might have been in between, well, yes, and then I could say no because there was a divorce in there, and I've been married 3 times.
Yeah, I know, one of them. Okay, so when you had to come home, I know one of them.
I know you know.
So,
not too much
what did you do the day you had to come home and say, well, honey, we might want to eat pot roast tonight instead of, like, I don't have the job no more. How was that to come home and have to, say that I didn't get
I was laid off?
Yeah. Indefinitely.
I'd been fired.
Yeah.
I didn't know when I'd be
My
going
big
back.
mouth. Right.
Just like that. And I accepted the fact that I'd popped off once too many times.
Been there, done that.
Yeah,
I'm of that school right there. So the show goes on 3 seasons.
Well, there were other shows. There were other jobs that I had
that you were working, but
before Norman called me back to do three more pilots we did together, none of which flew.
Because we didn't care. We wanted you to be on good time. They killed you off in a car accident. That hurt.
Yeah, James supposedly was in Alaska looking for work.
Yeah.
He had gone there to get a job. He had a job, and supposedly in the script, he was killed in an automobile accident.
Yeah, that hurt. That hurt. As a viewer, that one
That
that one
hurt my
really hurt.
paycheck, but it didn't physically hurt me.
How did you feel about the show going on without you though?
Hey, life goes on without me. If I cash in tonight, New York ain't gonna shut down.
Boy, I could say something, but I'm gonna keep that to myself. And let's move on.
Yeah,
Roots.
yeah. That was a breakthrough for me because it firmly established me as a dramatic actor. But by then, I'd done Broadway. I'd done a lot. I loved the stage. I love live theater.
What's the best show you did on Broadway that you really really loved?
Well, I tell you, my Broadway experience was short-lived, and it was very strange.
You didn't go in there because of nobody out, did you?
No, no. On the contrary, we opened at the Royale Theater. It was directed by Carl Reiner,
Oh,
and it was a play called Tough to Get Help, written by the late Steve Gordon. It was a comedy, and Jack, I forget the gentleman's name, and I know I'll probably be cursed out for this, but he was a matinee idol at that time. Jack Cassidy.
I remember Jack Cassidy died in a fire. He used to be
Yeah.
married to the Partridge.
Right, one of the
Lady.
Partridge Family girls, and
Shirley, wasn't Shirley? Shirley, the mama. She
Shirley
was married
Jones.
to-
Was
Yeah,
it?
yeah. Right? Wasn't
Was
that
it
what he
Shirley
married to?
Jones?
Yes.
I'm sure.
Yeah, Jack
But at any
Cassidy was a
rate,
good looking man.
At any rate, that show opened and closed the same night
Damn.
to a standing ovation and 3 curtain calls.
What?
And we were taking our bows, that is myself and the co-star, Lillian Heyman. She was a Broadway veteran, and she had done innumerable Broadway plays. And we were taking our bows, and I said, "Wow, we must be a hit. Look at that. Oh, there's a standing ovation." And she said, "Baby, unless those three or four people right there in the front row center stand up and applaud, we could be out of work." I said, "Well, who are they?" She said, "That is Clive Barnes and 2 most powerful critics in New York theater." And they sat there on their hands during the standing ovation and the curtain calls. And sure enough, they canceled the show that night because in those days, everything was contingent upon the reviews.
Yeah.
And we got horrible reviews.
And didn't the reviews used to come out like at midnight or something like that?
Almost
like,
immediately right after the show.
after the show.
You'd go across the street to,
And
I
wait
forget the
till
name of
the-
the restaurant and wait, and it was really like Hollywood drama.
Uh-huh.
You're waiting for the reviews to come in, and the reviews came in, and all of a sudden, the hors d'oeuvres and everything, the champagne, everything disappeared.
Stop.
It stopped. It disappeared. They took it out of the room.
Ugh.
I mean, you could be getting ready to pour. Hey, where you going with it? No, that's gone
It's over.
because bad
Those
reviews.
are critics. Yeah. So, okay, Roots. Ensemble cast that bar none. Lou, Leslie,
Yeah.
everybody, young LeVar.
It was a tremendous project to be involved in.
I have such fond memories of Roots. I think it was it seemed like it was 3 hours a night or something like that. 2 hours. I think it used to come on 2 hours
Yeah.
a night, right?
Yeah, and
And they had never done that before.
Exactly.
It was a mini series. It was the first mini series, I think.
that was showed on consecutive nights.
Yeah, consecutive nights.
Previously, they would show an episode, and maybe a week later, you'd get another episode, and by then you forgot what the first episode was about. And because they figured it was, well, we'll just get this out of the way. Let's burn them all. They called it burning it in those days. We'll burn these episodes. Nobody's going to be watching. Nobody wants to see this. Little did they know that they would draw the biggest audience in the history of television.
We were transfixed. Not only were we transfixed watching the series, Then everybody went and got the book. And Alex Haley's book for Roots is like the Encyclopedia Britannica, like three of them, like this. But everybody got the book and read it.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a whole movement. Like, and then, the cast was so phenomenal.
Oh, it was
And
incredible.
they cut your foot off, baby.
Yeah, not mine, the character.
Okay,
I like my craft, but I wasn't about to give up no
they cut
body
your foot
parts.
off because you tried to run away. You kept trying to run away. You're
Yeah.
a little hard headed. So did you find that? Because I don't know if I could do. I'm so in my head. I'm not sure that I could do a quote unquote period piece like that and come out of it immediately. I don't think that I could let it go out of my blood. Like I would be forever changed. Did doing that series change you at all?
It affected me to the degree that I found myself becoming engrossed. I couldn't get enough of our history. I mean, that really set my African vibe bubbling. So I began to travel back and forth to Africa even more after that. I had been there, I had been to different parts of the continent previously, but after Roots, I felt compelled to go back as often as possible.
But you at first got cast not as Kunta Kinte, correct?
Well, yeah, when I first contacted, it was for another part. Uh, a, a late friend of mine, Jitu Kumbuka, was cast in the role that I thought that I was going to be given a chance at the wrestler, and they called me and they said, "Well, did you read it?" And I said, "Yeah, I read it." They said, "Well, we got another part we want you to read," and the second part was another character, and finally they sent me a script where the character that I ultimately portrayed, Kunta Kinte, was they had begun to flesh him out so I could see what he was about. And I said, man, I don't know who's going to get that, but whoever gets that role, they're going to have some piece of work behind them once they get this down. And as it turned out, I was cast as Kunta Kinte, and it changed the industry's perception of John Amos. I was no longer the actor that could do comedy, but they said, oh, this guy he's got dramatic chops as well.
How did your family feel about you getting this role? Like, was it like oh my God? Well, you get a role, and if they're not there on the set with you every day, they don't really know exactly what you're doing. Then the movie comes out.
Oh, once it came out, they, my family and everybody that saw the program, they were pleasantly surprised. Yeah, they didn't know I had those.
Do you think you gained more respect after Roots than you did after Good Times?
Oh, no doubt. No doubt.
There was a guy though when we read about this incident with this guy from Liberia thought that you were.
Ah, yes.
Tell him about that.
In my wish to be as authentic as possible, whenever I was in Liberia, I would only speak in the patois.
Patois.
The native
Vernacular.
dialect or vernacular. And I was in what they called a shebeen one night, which is nothing but a little hovel where you drink homemade brew and you BS with the guys. So I was drinking beer one night with a good friend of mine, one of the local, what we call a grenade, one of the local street guys. And because I have an affinity for street guys when I'm in a foreign country, I think that's the real test of reality and the real litmus test for how well you're relating to the locals. And we were drinking beer. I had my back to the door, and he turned to me, this friend that I was drinking, his name was Charlie Mitchell, and Charlie Mitchell said, John? I said, yeah, Charles. He said, I think I see one bad guy coming for you. I think I see one bad guy coming for you. I said, what's he want with me? He said, I don't know. Oh, John, he have a machete. I said, oh, Lord. Let me turn around and see this bad guy. I can't get my back to a machete. I turned around. The guy came over and looked at me and said, I know you. You the same guy was in the prison with me at Bowman Hill Diamond Mine. I'm coming for your head, man. You were the security guard. You treat me real bad. I told you I'm coming for your head. I said, hey, wait a minute. Hold it, brother. Hold it. Whipped out my wallet, showed him my California driver's license. I said, man, I don't know who you think I am, but this is who I am. I am not the security guard that mistreated you at Bowman Hill Diamond Mine. He said, what? You're the player, meaning the actor. And he brought the beer the rest of the night.
Oh
so
my
I made
God!
a friend.
And you were able to keep your neck.
Thank you.
So you were nominated for an Emmy for that role, John.
Yes, I was.
Proud moment.
Yeah.
Didn't win though. No matter.
No matter.
Lou Gossett won.
Yes, he did. And he won, and justifiably so, and he won the Academy Award as well.
And your friends, because the two of you were hanging out during Coming to America.
Oh, we're still friends.
Yeah.
Never have been competitive.
How big of an impact do you think that Roots had on the culture at that time?
Tremendous.
Yeah.
Because every ethnicity began to research their own background, and they wanted to find out about their own roots. We're a nation of immigrants, so everybody began to take a profound interest in their own genealogy.
Still an important film today, don't you think?
I think so.
They should show it in schools, don't you think?
They did it one time, and then for some reason or other, they stopped showing it.
Now, you did the Cosby Show, too.
Yes, I did.
Bill Cosby.
Yeah, I did that. Did an episode of the Cosby Show. I played his doctor, and he was having some palpitations or something because of the diet he was on. So as his doctor, I suggested that he give up that stuff and concentrate on healthy food. So it was a pretty good episode to do, and I enjoyed working with Cosby at that time.
Would you say, were you ever friendly? Were you guys friends?
Well, Bill was so up. I mean, he was, let's face it, he was the top of the mountain. And I didn't associate with too many actors at that time. And he wasn't the easiest guy to associate with or to be friends with unless you were Harry Belafonte or somebody of his level. And I was hardly at his level at the time that I did his show. So, no, I enjoyed working with him, but we didn't become close friends.
Did he seem to have a different persona on camera and off camera? Or was he basically like Heathcliff Huxtable, lovable and family guy and all this? Because he seemed to be very moral in his standards, yet he criticized Eddie Murphy so much back in the day for using foul language and
he allowed no profanity on the set. In fact, I think I used a curse word one day and everything stopped. And it was in the middle of a rehearsal, and Felicia Rashad, who played his wife, of course, came over and said, we don't talk that way on this show. I said, well, what did I say? What did I do? I thought that I, kidnapped a baby or something.
Yeah.
And she said, no, we don't use any profanity. I said, okay.
We don't use any profanity. We just use peels.
No comment.
Bill Cosby.
No comment.
So now I'll comment.
Go ahead. You can do that.
Okay, so let's talk about it. So Bill got charged.
Yeah.
With drugging women multiple times and having sexual encounters with them, which to me is just a heartbeat away from being a necrophiliac. Because if you can get all the coochie in the world from anybody that you want, because Bill Cosby was a very attractive man. He had been to Temple, he was an athlete, I Spy, and all this stuff. Very attractive man. He could have got voluntarily all the coochie he want, but he didn't want his coochie to move, apparently. See? So he dropped them pills so you lay still. So that's like being a necrophiliac. What you think about that?
I hadn't given much thought to tell you the truth.
Let's think about it.
All right.
Okay, so he's locked up now for the rest of his life.
Oh, I hope not.
Yeah, it's over. He's gonna die in prison.
Oh no.
He's going to die in prison.
That's a hell of a thought.
Well, it's a fact, okay? And everything that he stood for, all the good works, because I can separate. I can still enjoy his comedy. I can still enjoy his show. But I found that what I loved Heathcliff. did not love Bill after what he's been accused and convicted of, even though he may still get mad respect in the prison. But isn't that the epitome of hypocrisy, though?
It'd be hard to compare anything else to it in terms of his hypocrisy. Yeah.
So I would have to say that a man who would go to those lengths to incapacitate a woman when he could voluntarily get a wonderful, active, squirming woman, he's got a mental problem.
Mm.
So it's safe to say that Bill Cosby has a mental problem. How do you feel about him being locked up like this? What he did to his wife and his children, the embarrassment and the shame.
You reap what you sow. That's all I can say. You reap what you sow.
Were you surprised about it?
No, I wasn't terribly surprised because being an actor and having worked with him a couple of times, we'd done the movie together. I'd done an episode or two of his show. We'd heard the rumors. I was never present when any of these incidents took place, but the rumors were so prevalent, and they were coming from such reliable sources that you begin to look at him sideways, and you had to accept it as a fact.
Isn't it terrible that you can hear at that time, that you can hear these rumors and nobody would say nothing about it, just let him go on and do what he was doing?
Well, mind you, this is long before social media, and you couldn't bomb somebody out.
But if I hear, hey, this guy, he likes to tie chicks up and slap them around. If I heard that about a guy, then maybe me and my chicks would not be so eager to date that guy. Yet, the rumors prevailed, and the women did too. Still.
True.
Just saying.
True.
Okay, well, he supposedly is doing some good mentorship work in prison. God bless him. Don't drop the soap. Okay, so Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. You did Sanford and Son, In the House. You did the A-Team.
Yeah. Played opposite Mr. T.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have a pretty vast career.
Yeah, I've been very fortunate. It's been diversified, a little bit of everything.
Would you say you did it like Sinatra and you did it your way?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
At cost sometime.
Oh yeah, it cost me some money, it cost me some jobs, but the main thing is an actor and as a talent, you'd like to think that you're doing what makes you feel good, because if you feel good about the work you're doing, it's going to be obvious in your work.
I know that for me, being an actress and comedian and traveling, at times it has taken a toll on my relationship with my child. Do you think that your career interfered with your relationships or your with your maybe spouses or your kids or anything like that, and always playing such hard, driven characters? Do you think that made your home life suffer at all? Or
I think in the case of my one of my marriages, I decline to say which. Certainly wasn't my first one, because my first wife was the mother of both my children. We had a good relationship until I began to lose my balance, let's say. The business just began to take over my mind, sort of, and I lost my way, as my mom used to put it. I lost my way, but eventually I accepted the fact that away from your family for months at a time or weeks at a time, and seemingly the attraction of not just other females, but the attraction of material objects seemingly becomes the most important thing in the world to you.
Did you get the big house and all that?
Well, it was comfortable. It wasn't a huge house, but I had the things that I wanted. I've always been a car guy. I loved cars and motorcycles and that type of thing. So they took up most of my thought processes. Because my dad was being a mechanic, I wanted to follow him and
Oh yeah.
be involved with cars and that type of thing.
What about the swinging parties and all that? Did you ever get caught up in any of that?
I think maybe once or twice I went to a couple parties, but I didn't particularly care for the Hollywood crowd.
Drugs?
I did what everybody else was doing at the time.
Let's talk about coming to America.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay? Let's talk about the old one and let's talk about this new one. Coming to America. How ironic you get cast as, is it Cleo?
Cleo McDowell.
Cleo McDowell. And you are the owner of the chain.
Yeah.
Bigwig. How ironic your McDonald's younger experience circles around to this role here.
Again, that showed me God's sense of humor.
Amen. When you were making Coming to America with Eddie Murphy, who's at the height of his career, all-star, not all-star cast. They weren't stars, all of them. Shari Headley became a star after Coming to America.
Mm-hmm.
Mad Sinclair came from the theater, worked all her life, but
God rest her soul.
God rest her soul. But she really, really shined as a beautiful black queen in Coming to America.
Yeah.
Louis Anderson, Sam Jackson. What was it like when you were working on the set of Coming to America, the first one? Did you feel any magic? You know we felt magic on the sequel set. But did you feel any magic? Were you doing this and you were having fun? Did you know it was going to affect the culture the way that it did?
None of us knew that the film was going to be as successful as it ultimately proved.
Across the country, and beyond, all across the board.
Yeah. None of us came even close to approximating what it was going to gross and how popular it was going to be. And to this day, I still get people saying they loved the film. And it holds up after all these years.
It certainly does.
Good comedy does that.
Do you think it put Queens on the map? Or did LL
They tell
do
me
that?
it did. They tell me it did.
It put Queens on the map. You were so funny, so thirsty. When you found out that Prince Hakeem had that money.
Oh, yeah.
Like, wait a minute.
Boy got his own money.
Yeah. You even had some catchphrases and stuff that people were saying, like, around town. Stuff like, I don't give a damn who you are. This is America, Jack. Now you say more and more word about Lisa, I'm going to break my foot off in your royal ass. You
right.
Saying that.
And they gave me the luxury of the privilege of ad-libbing that line because the line they had originally written, we found out when we did the read-throughs the first day, the entire cast is assembled and we do a read-through of the script, as you well know.
Yeah.
And the line they had for me was something to the effect of, you insult my daughter like that again, and I'm going to drop you like a bad habit. And I said, no, I need something stronger. This is a father talking about his daughter. I got to let him know this man is toying with his life here. So I ad-libbed the line, didn't announce it to anybody. I just went ahead and ad-libbed it. Yeah. And Eddie fell out, and he's got the most unique laugh. I've been around it. Sound like a mule in heat.
Yeah, donkey. Sounds like that donkey.
Right? So when Eddie's reaction, that sealed it. He said, yeah, that's him.
I'm going to tell you this one time. You want to keep working here? Stop the drugs.
Right.
Catchphrases.
Good. It was a good script, and we made it better through the freedom we had with the ad-libs. I
have done table reads before, and when you close the script, you're like, oh, my God. This is gonna be something.
Yeah.
What was the feeling after you guys did the table read the first time, before any wardrobe, before any locations, before anything?
Well, even before that, I was called to Paramount to read. Not to read, but just to meet with John Landis, who directed the first one. Mm. And when he was describing without reading from the script, describing the older couple that came with the man that the husband had the jerry curl and left the jerry curl stains on the couch.
Yeah.
I fell off of his couch. I laughed so hard. I mean, I love comedy and I love to laugh. To me, it's the most genuine form of entertainment there is. If you can make a complete stranger laugh, and they made me fall out on the floor. I mean, I was screaming. So that was it. John Landis and I got along great, and when I saw that he had written in that scene where the couples had left Jerry curl stains on the couch, I was finished. I just laughed myself sick.
Once again, a great father role, the chemistry between you and Shari Headley.
Yeah.
Your daughter Lisa,
Oh,
very
it was
loving.
easy. It was easy because she's a wonderful actress, and she's a very, very, not just an attractive lady, but also a very warm actress.
Look at me and the McDonald's people. We got this misunderstanding. See, they're McDonald's. I'm McDowell's. They got golden arches. Mine is golden arcs.
Right?
They got the Big Mac. I got the Big Mick.
Mick. Yeah, McDowell, the character I portrayed, he was a little bit of a con man.
Oh, you think?
Just a little
Total
bit. Total
ripoff. It was hilarious though. We both got two all beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions, but their buns have sesame seeds. My buns don't have no sesame seeds.
Right. Distinguishing difference, right?
Right, big diff. Because God, I'll go across town for them sesame seeds. The hell? So, you had the premiere. Where was the premiere?
You know, I can't recall.
So now, it's 30 years later.
Right.
Did you had heard rumors about Coming to America was going to happen, and
well, we'd been hearing that for years.
Right.
Ever since the numbers that the first one generated became public knowledge, we said it was just a matter of time until they do it again. We kept waiting year after year, and it never happened. So I said, it ain't going to happen. Mm-hmm. Sure enough, it did.
So, how did you get made aware that it was time? That it was time, it was getting ready to go down?
Well, I got a call from my representative, my agent at the time, and he said, it's set. It's real. Paramount's going to do it again, and they want you back. Can we talk? We talked, and so far, so good.
So, then we were filming on Tyler Perry's studio.
Mm-hmm.
How did you feel about that?
To me, that was beautiful. To go to Atlanta and see that complex that he's created there, the Tyler Perry Studios.
We were on stage 9. I think that's Sidney Poitier.
Right, stage 9,
yep.
And all the buildings named after some of the black luminaries that have worked for Tyler and worked in the industry over the years.
Sure.
It was, it just was proof to me that if you apply yourself, as Tyler has, that you can accomplish anything.
Once again, a God move, I believe. Because to all the work that these great actors and actresses have done in Hollywood and wherever, I'm pretty sure that Paramount, Warner, Universal was never going to make a soundstage and name it after Cecily Tyson, Whoopi Goldberg, Oprah Winfrey, Ossie Davis and Ruby Dee. You know, they weren't going to do that. But Tyler did it. Bravo to Tyler.
Amen.
What do you want to tell the people about the new one that's getting ready to come out? You know, there's a lot of skepticism. Oh, I hope they don't mess it up. Oh, it's my favorite. It's classic. Oh, this cannot be as good as the first one. But you and I know. What would you tell the people out there that have any reservations about how Coming to America, the quest is going to be?
Go see the quest with an open mind and be aware of the fact that we're introducing a lot of young, new talent.
Like me.
Like yourself, like Lunel.
Young and new.
Okay. And some of the other established actors are back for,
Most.
Yeah, most of them are back.
Most.
And I think it's going to be a hit.
You think?
I think so.
I don't think there's any way to mess this
I
up.
think Eddie's on top of his game once again.
Absolutely.
Maybe people don't really realize how difficult it is to do what he does, to go from character to character seamlessly.
Well, the old man in the barber shop, and then the reverend, and,
The prince.
Yeah.
I mean, and each one of them is delineated by his performance.
And they don't know the hours of makeup, how hot it was in Atlanta.
Oh, that's it. That's it. Nobody really knows what goes into the process except the actors that go through it, and of course the people that work on their makeup, etc.
Would
But
you say that Coming to America is like it's an art piece?
well, I don't know if I'd raise it up to the level of being an
Come
art
on,
piece.
this second one. Look at the
All right, it's
wardrobe.
an art
Look
piece.
at the wardrobe. You know what?
All right, it's an art piece.
Ruth Carter, the great Ruth Carter, did the wardrobe for Black Panther.
Yes,
Dolomite did our wardrobe. Some of
she
the
did a
most
superb job.
amazing fabrics
She
and
got
things
those,
I've ever seen.
and her design, her sense of design,
Oh yeah,
is incredible.
that I think she might win the Oscar again.
Possibly. I mean,
She'll
she had
surely be
everybody
nominated.
looking real good.
She'll surely be nominated.
No doubt.
My stuff came off the rack, but whatever. Not to give it away. Lockup. Just real brief about a couple of these other things. Die Hard 2 Players Club. Da da da. When you worked with Stallone,
Yes.
was this when Stallone was like a rock star and he had
Oh,
the
he was one of the
furs, he had
biggest
Brigitte
stars.
Nielsen, and
He's one of the biggest stars in the industry at the time that
Stallone
we
used
did
to
Lockup.
kill it.
Yeah. But when we shot that in Rawway Prison.
Penitentiary.
Right. And as a kid growing up, anytime I'd misbehave, the neighbors and my mom would say, "You keep it up, you're going to end up in Rawway." And I did, but acting.
Yeah, right.
Big difference. I could go home when I wanted to.
I had to shoot a movie called The Rock with Sean Connery and Nicolas Cage,
Yeah.
and part of The Rock there was a jail in L.A. called Civil Brand.
Right.
Civil Brand was being phased out, and Twin Towers was being phased in. So part of The Rock was filmed in Twin Towers. Then later I got incarcerated in Twin Towers. Okay, so anyway.
Boy, we breezed over that, didn't we?
Yeah, you do a movie in a pen and then end up in the pen that the movie was in.
Okay.
And life is funny like that. Anyway, you have really worked with a vast array of people. You've had a wonderful career, John.
Yes, I have.
What's next for John Amos? What do you see down the line? Are you going to write anything?
I'm getting back to my writing,
have you
which
ever
is
had
where I
any
started.
directorial aspirations or anything like that?
I've directed, but smaller projects, and I'm not a big fan of. I don't have a great passion to direct film.
It's a lot.
My son is a director. He's got his master's in live action film from Cal Arts.
Yeah.
And he's doing very well. K.C. Amos.
Yeah.
And I may direct one or two or I'll collaborate with him on a couple of projects that he's got. But the bottom line is I'll get back to writing. Now I'm looking forward to just sitting down very quietly and pounding out some of these ideas that I've had percolating for a long time.
Because it's going to be a little. That last OG set was murder.
Tell me about it.
Murder. But we're, I've really cherished the friendship that we have developed.
Linnell, you've been a joy to work with. I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to give you a little plug, so keep your mouth shut for a minute. There's nothing like having somebody with a real sense of humor and who is balanced. And you have an incredible sense of humor. You made me laugh. And laughter on a movie set is essential because it keeps people loose. And I saw you enjoying yourself so much in that rapport that you have with everybody on the set. I mean, I couldn't wait to see you come into the room because I knew before you left we were going to be laughing about something. And that's imperative. I think if everybody could have the day that we've had or a day like we've had on that set for the most of the time, most days, the world would be a better place if people could laugh while they're working. And we laughed. Let's face it. We laughed. Tears coming out my eyes thinking about it.
Well, I just want to say that the friendship that we've formed through the Coming to America experience and the last OG, and, people are very emotional about you, John. You are a very loved and endeared person in the culture. I saw for myself people cry when they met you and you were my dad and I just love you so much and I'm so protective of you. I was just like, I latched onto you like a leech and I wouldn't let you out of my sight. What does he need? What does he want? I'll get it. What are you doing? Is he hot? Is he cold? Get him this, get him that. And I do that, and I think I'll do that in, forever. And I just want to thank you for becoming a friend of mine, and
It's mutual.
for giving me so many memories that I'll have for the rest of my life before I knew you and since I've known you.
You're too kind.
And I really appreciate this interview. In conclusion, is there anything else that you would like the public to know about you, John Amos, the man? Is there anything you would like to just say, as we draw this interview to an end?
Yeah, one of my favorite things to do is to work with kids, and I've developed a good relationship with the Jersey City, the School for the Blind. When you think about a child who's born without sight, that they can appreciate your work, and I get the same reaction of affection and appreciation when I visit that school that I would with a sighted audience. And the fact that they've never seen me. But when I go into that classroom where these children are, all of them blind, from some blind since birth, others as a result of trauma, I just say good morning. They recognize my voice, and the reaction brings tears to my eyes. I mean, they're really, really glad to, pardon the pun, might be bad taste, to see me. Yeah. But I feel like they really see me. And the thing that's ironic is that I introduced a book. I never got away from the writing. The book is called A World Without Color.
Right.
And the way they grasped this book, and not only did they appreciate the book, they had it translated into
Braille. Yeah.
And that, to me, is probably one of the most important things that I've done as an actor and as a human being, to establish relationships with these blind children and have them appreciate my work. It doesn't get any better than that. Much more important than me driving a big car and being a well-known actor. No, to them, I'm just John who writes the good books that we like.
Well, John Amos, I want to thank you for this interview. God bless you.
Thank you, Linnell.
And you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of the day, week, year. And I thank you once again, okay?
I thank you, Linnell. God bless you.